Hey there, Evan Edinger here. Welcome back to the old channel. It's old. I've been doing this for so long. Today we're looking at an Ask Reddit thread, which is, what industry do you consider to be legal organized crime? Let's dive on in. Number 1, the most upvoted thing, legal organized crime. We've got pharmacy benefit management, the root cause behind why it's impossible to get honest and transparent drug pricing in the USA. All right, this is going to be a difficult concept to explain for anyone that's not American and also Americans. So we're gonna put some time on the clock. Let's see how I can do. So pharmaceutical benefit management, or PBMs, are essentially middlemen. How do drug prices work? Well, you've got the pharmaceutical company does all the R&D, they research, they create a drug, they set a list price, but they don't just tell that price to the pharmacy where you, the consumer, buy your drugs, because there's a lot of insurance packages at the end of the day in the US on how you get those prices. Do you pay a small copay and the insurance pays the rest? Or does the insurance pay a little bit and you pay a lot? Depending on where that drug lands on that scale depends on how much the middlemen get in rebate. If you as the pharmaceutical company are like, hey middlemen, we'll give you a huge rebate on this to give back to the customers, they go, cool, we'll raise you on the list. So more insurance companies use your drug and you make more money. However, that encourages the pharmaceutical companies to make the list price incredibly high, increasing the prices constantly so that the middlemen, who also take a huge cut, take a little rebate, give a little bit to the insurance people, meaning that if you don't have insurance, you are absolutely screwed because the price just keeps going up. So some people benefit, a very small amount, the people that are the middlemen behind the PBMs. Time on the clock, how to do. But yeah, if you're wondering why drug prices are constantly going up in the States, but yet nobody's really happy about it, PBMs, one small link in the horrible puzzle that is American healthcare prices. There is a bill going through Congress soon that might be tackling the issue of PBMs, so I'll leave a link in the description for further reading for you if you want to know more about that. Wow, an educational Reddit video for you, huh? Payday loans. Yes. Let's see, what do you think the average payday loan rate is? Oh my God. A typical 2-week payday loan with a $15 per $100 fee equates to an annual percentage rate, APR, of almost 400%. That's worse than my student loans. Just, if you've never had to have a payday loan, just thank the Lord that that's not something you have to get. Nobody wants to get a payday loan, but they're incredibly predatory. They set their interest rates so ridiculous, knowing that people that just need money right now so that they can pay their bills and then they plan on paying it back, never end up being able to because the interest is just so insane. If you ask for $1,000, you need to borrow $1,000 and then something happens, you can't pay that back, you're screwed. $1,000, 400% of that is $5,000. You know how 5 times as much. You'd think there'd be better consumer protection about that, but can you believe? It's quite a big business. A lot of people make money in the companies, so. Legal organized crime. I agree. Are they predatory? Yes. Did they stop me from losing my house, truck, and extension job? Also yes. Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, they're horribly predatory, but they have a use case, and it just feels like we should have some sort of maximum rate that's not the one that it currently is, that's so predatory that will allow people to use payday loans and not have them completely ruin other people's lives. Next up, we've got cable TV companies that have eliminated the competition in an entire town. That's just how they work. Growing up in South Jersey, we could only really get Comcast, America's least favorite company of all time, which is strange. Even beats out Nestle. But I could only get Comcast, / now it's rebranded to Xfinity to try and get rid of its negative publicity, even though there's loads of other cable companies, because they've all done some back alley deals of shaking hands like, oh, actually, Comcast, you have the Philadelphia area, we won't touch it, we're Time Warner. We will make sure that we get North Jersey, and you're not allowed over there. And so they have this little agreement so that you have no competition, you have no options, you have to go with their horrible service, their horrible rates, make sure you're in the house between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. And maybe a guy will come, maybe he won't. You're screwed. One small thing that makes living in the UK a little bit better. You don't have to pay for any of it. You just gotta plug your coaxial cable in, get TV, and when someone knocks the door saying, have you paid for that? You go, get out of my house. Go back to your stupid satellite van. Just don't watch TV. Come on, it's 2023, what are you doing? Anything based around a multi-level marketing company, they're all pretty much semi-Ponzi schemes. You make more money to sell things that nobody really wants and try and get more people in to sell things that nobody really wants. I think at one point I managed to save my brother from getting a job selling Cutco knives. My mom was telling me like, oh yeah, he's just got a really nice interview, he's dressed up. I was like, what's the job? She was like, oh, I think it's like they're gonna be selling some like knives. And I went, Mom, you call him right now. He's not doing that. That is not a good idea. It's so predatory. They make you spend all this money up front to buy the sets of knives that nobody wants. and then they get all the money that you just paid them, and then you're stuck with all these fancy knives that nobody wants. All scams. Legal, organized crime. As a MetLife customer service representative, insurances. Well, as someone who studied the math behind insurances, it's actually quite interesting. As long as it's not a life or death type of thing that you have to have because the country you live in doesn't provide adequate support. But the math, it's pretty cool. One thing that freaks a lot of British people out when I tell them is that I got big discounts on my car insurance because I had straight A's in school. Heather, you don't have that here, right? No. But you did well in school. You don't get a rebate for being a good, smart girl? No? For us, I think it's just a way for insurance companies to be like, well, he does well in school, so he must be smart and he won't drive erratically. Or because there's actually some sort of link between people who score well in school and people who drive more safely. And so I actually had to work just quite a bit harder in school to make sure I maintained my grades. Otherwise, I couldn't really afford the insurance that my $2.13 an hour was paying at the old Pizza Hut. It's not like I've talked about loads of time, especially in the last couple months of this channel. Lobbyists. Yeah, it literally is. It is legal, organized corruption, bribery. All good, as long as you pay your politician, he will do what you want and your corporation can smile all the way to the bank. Printer inks. Yes, but it's not just the ink, it's the way that the software distributes it. The fact that I have like an 11 color, 11 jet printer for my photographic prints coming out next month or so, and if I'm low on magenta, it'll say, hey, I know you want to print black and white, but go spend 18 pounds for another magenta cartridge. Or the fact that because of how advanced the system is, if I don't print something in 2 to 3 weeks, the ink gets all dried out, so it shoots loads of ink to waste it all, so I have to go and buy more. You'd think that they'd have a system where it would clean it out with something that isn't incredibly expensive, more expensive than petrol, but they make more money this way. Here's a sneak peek. This is one of the prints I'm gonna be selling soon, so get your trigger fingers ready. I spent a lot of money on my ink. Ink can see that. No. The Church of Scientology. I mean, it's one of those things where as long as you say you're a religion and you've got followers and tenets, you can take money from anyone and be a tax dodging person legally. That is pretty much it. They get a lot of dirt on you. You have to join them and you're like, oh, by the way, here's some things that I don't tell anyone, but now I trust you. And they're like, cool, if you leave, we will give this to everybody. And now you're with them forever. Yelp is a massive thing where I'm from in the States. Yes, you advertise your business with them to increase engagement and gain positive reviews. But when you stop advertising, they suppress your positive reviews and promote the negative reviews. That sounds so much like mob mentality. Like, oh, you know, you gotta pay us and we'll keep you safe, get nice reviews. You stop paying us, little Jimmy breaks your little legs, move you down the chart, move up the negative reviews. It sounds so mob-like. I am a big fan of just using Google Maps, like the aggregate reviews that are on there. I'm also like, who reviews things on Google? But they're more impartial, kind of. I definitely know they get a kickback for showing certain things up when I'm looking for things to do in London. But whenever I travel to a new place, a lot of times if I haven't done the research on where I want to go out to eat, I will just look on Google Maps and see, oh, which is one of the highest rated of the little places in the area. At one point, Heather and I went to Amiens, France, and didn't really know where we should go for some food. Looked on Google Maps, saw some pretty high reviewed things. I read all the reviews, or at least most of them, to make sure they're all good. And they even translate them for you in English or German. Lovely. The student loan industry is BS. Yes, the fact that you can only get rid of your student loans by paying them off, impossible, or death. But sometimes your parents are on the hook if you die, so make sure not to die if you don't want your parents to be sucked with that. Sucked? Tow truck companies, legally allowed to steal your vehicle and force you to pay exorbitant fees to get it back. One of the worst times of my life was when I went to Mardi Gras in Louisiana. I was having an amazing time, worked with the absolute worst rental company, Sixt, who wouldn't let me drive to Tennessee. For whatever reason, they said, Tennessee, no. Tennessee, not see that. So I had to park it in a safe to park place, not there, in Mississippi. And sure enough, within a couple hours, a tow truck said they didn't like where I was parking because it was blocking, it was not blocking anything. $1,500 to get everything sorted. And I had to buy a Greyhound bus ticket to get back to Orlando for my flight. Dreadful. Mob boss levels. The American prison system. Yes, also known as legal slavery, pretty much. You mean the for-profit American prison system? I scrolled for a while and I was surprised to not see the online gambling industry, the offline gambling industry too. Yes, if you haven't seen, my friend Stephen Bridges made a really fascinating series recently, still ongoing, about how he's been counting cards for blackjack, and as soon as they get tail of that, even though it's fully legal, they find a way to kick you out and try and get your ID, and it's fascinating, but big mob energy. He even shaved his beard at one point so that he wouldn't be recognized and could continue counting cards, but still got him. I guess he didn't count on that, sorry. Mega churches. What's weird to me about the concept of mega churches is the people that worship like God there, that think that these people that are having private jets and whatnot are following any teachings of the Bible. They're clearly gaining so much. But as someone that used to be so involved, not necessarily mega churches, but that side of like Christianity, I think it's because a lot of people feel like, oh, well, he's doing the Lord's work. He's doing such a good thing. He deserves to take in some of the pleasures of life, like having a private jet. And I believe there was one mega church pastor that said, well, having a private jet allows him to be closer to God. Isn't that nice? Scammies, scam artists. Wedding industry. I feel like it depends. Like, I don't necessarily think this is legal organized crime because it's all in your head. Nobody is telling you need to spend $30,000 to tell someone you love them and have your friends and family there. Weddings were originally created for the ultra rich as a way to showcase your love. You don't need to have money to get married. You do not need to have a lavish wedding. You can have a small gathering. You do not have to go all out with giant cakes and dresses for all of your bridesmaids. I can't afford that crap. Does that mean I'm not gonna get married? No, we're going to Target. We could always do that cheeky thing of being like, hey guys, so I'm having a wedding in Bora Bora. If you can't afford it, don't worry, we'll have a small thing later, but that way you only get like 5 people there. How else you would get around not paying all those fees? Because that's just such, like, you want a nice wedding experience, but I don't know. Here's the thing, just start a YouTube channel. My wedding is gonna be sponsored. Man, I just wish I could change my wedding location. Thanks to today's video sponsor. This video isn't sponsored, don't worry. I put on the voices. There's no orange bar. The meat and dairy industry. Yep, we've talked about that before on this channel. It's all about vertical monopolies. You trying to tell me that that's fair and full of competition? No, I think it's because in the 90s, there were so many laws passed that basically stopped the regulation that opened up the floodgates for all these mergers and acquisitions. A career path that only evil people could take part in making it so that big corporations get larger and strangle out all of the competition. And it's legal, but it's not organized crime. Subscribing to my YouTube channel where I make new videos every Sunday. Thanks for stopping on by again. As a personal note, for those who stayed past my intonation change, I'm going through a little rough patch mentally for the last month or so, trying my absolute best. I'm on holiday by the time you're watching this. I'm taking a week off, going to Madeira. Don't miss my Sunday uploads, but hoping to take it a little chill before I come out with some bigger, heavy-hitting videos I've been working on that I'm really excited for. So thank you, as always, for staying in touch. I am a normal human. I'm a content machine, but also I have rough patches. And thank you for being with me through this time. I'll have some vlogs on my second channel from last week in Finland and Madeira coming soon. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next Sunday. Goodbye. He added a personal element because he's so personal. Oops.
No jingle today.
Time for grilled cheese.